Good morning, everyone. The Board of Cosmetology Qualification Rules Advisory Joint Committee meeting is convening at 9:40 a.m. on Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026. This meeting is being held in person on Zoom. Video conference is being recorded. The recording will be posted to the internet for public view. I will now call roll. Samantha? Angelica? Brianna?
Here.
Elizabeth? Jen? Jennifer? Jessica?
Here.
Julie?
Here.
Helena? Kat? Kate? Carrie?
Yes, here.
Stormy? I saw her.
Here.
Margaret? Megan? Michelle?
Here.
Noelle?
Here.
Pamela? Here. Ray?
Here.
Tammy?
Here.
Teresa?
Here.
And Yesenia. Okay. As this meeting is to speak, please state your first name for the record. Committee members are asked to not use the chat feature during meetings. The Health Licensing Office asks that individuals attending through Zoom keep their phones muted and cameras off during the entire meeting or until they are given an opportunity to comment during the public and interested parties feedback period. Public comment is limited to matters listed on the meeting agenda or topics relevant to what this committee and statutory authority to regulate. Public members wishing to speak can sign in on the roster at the back of the room or email Josh Page at josh.page, P-A-G-E, @oha.oregon.gov and provide your first and last name. Everyone is asked to use appropriate language, manners, and protocols when conducting board committee business. This committee is now called to order. Okay, I hope everybody had a good month off. Got a little sunshine, yeah, hopefully, maybe not. First, my apologies for getting you material so late, but it is just butt up against other projects, so.
You have a hand up.
Yes. Can I say, did I not say your name?
All right.
Oh, right over your name. Right over your name. I just skipped Carmela, Cindy, and Akaite. Right over them. I don't know why.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sorry, thank you. I don't know why I did that. So yes, so I apologize for getting you these late. It was not Josh, even though he sent them, it was me. The definitions have not changed. I didn't make any new additions to them, just kind of here, so if you want to reference them. Of course, I do put page numbers on them. Barbering, which is, let me pull up. So I did make changes, that the requested changes that you guys had on the barbering. I'm gonna tell you what page number. Starting on page 20. So anywhere there's like a blue square is a change that I made. Well, on your guys' pages, it's gonna be a shady gray square. So it would be on number 5, which is on page 22. And this is in relation to page, oh, you're gonna be messed up.
Yeah, you've got page changes on page 10, 13.
You gotta be able to see this. So you're gonna be on,
Do you want me to reprint a couple, want me to fix the page numbers and reprint?
so if you're starting on the Barbary page,
Uh-huh.
then you're gonna be on page 10.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Okay,
You said 22.
it's 22 up here
Okay,
for everyone on the screen.
now we know
And
where it
for you
is here.
guys.
Okay, sweet.
Yes, so the first, on 5, I added, what did I add here?
Competencies through theory instruction.
Are you able to share that screen?
Sure.
Thank you.
Let me close everything. There. You guys see that panel? We turn the lights down to see if
Yeah, it's good. I got it right
Okay.
here. Yeah.
So, I believe on number 5, I added on live human beings. It just said performing practical procedures until the person, the supervisor determines that it really needed to be on live human beings. And then number 6 is where you guys wanted, before a provisional certificate starts performing on live human beings, that they do 40 hours of these specific areas: safety infection control, 10 hours, 10 hours of anatomy and physiology, 10 hours of chemistry, 5 hours of implements, tools, and equipment, and 5 hours of safe usage of devices and federal regulations and standards. So I added that. So they must do that 40 hours prior to performing practical procedures on live people. That looked like where everyone agreed. Good. Okay, next area that I may choose to. Oh,
13, I think I got it.
okay, we're moving on down to page. So a couple things can occur here. So I went ahead and added the new fields of practice where they would go in the rules, not thinking that maybe you want to see the stuff we've already been working on, which is way down in the information. I don't know that it really matters, but if you want to start looking at these numbers, plunking in for each of the fields of practice, the training program.
Are we still on barbering or did we move?
We're done with barbering as far as,
Okay. The changes.
yes, but there is the supervision and all that would be for all fields of practice.
Okay.
And you guys have started working on that, but what I do is I put the other training programs in the middle. Does that make sense? So I did it by the way the rule goes in order. So 2 things can occur. We can start working on page 28, which is brand new, you've never seen it before, or we can skip to page 48. 48, or 50, page 50. So for you guys would be in the room, would be page 25.
So we're skipping over aesthetics and hair
Yeah, let's
design.
skip over all that, and let's go to what we've been working on. I apologize. I was one-track minded yesterday. Get it in the materials.
Okay.
So the next item, let's see, this had several things. The provisional certificate may be renewed annually or until education, instruction, and training has been complete. Upon completion of education, instruction, and training, a provisional certificate may not be renewed. So this one, kind of feel like I've said it 3 or 4 different ways, but I'm not necessarily positive which is the absolute right way. But I really want to get my point across. But I think there's a few things at play, like you could keep renewing annually until the supervisor determines that you are done. And then once you actually get your permanent license, your license, your provisional is now expired, so I just gotta say that. So I kind of added all those things here under 3, 4, and 5.
So I thought we had landed on a time frame. That there was a time frame that they couldn't just keep it open-ended year after year after year for the renewal, getting their training.
Like a number of years?
Yeah, we talked about 3 years, 5 years, 10 years.
Yes,
Oh,
but I
good
think you
point.
guys end up landing on I think, supervisor deciding when they were done. But I mean, there's pros and cons to both. One is what if, well, I guess if you say 3 years and they decide they're gonna go on a hiatus, they can get a dormant license.
Yeah, that's what we had said, that if they decided to change, this is Camelot, if they decided to make changes, that they would go into dormant status.
Okay.
But my memory was that we had some kind of time frame on this. I can't remember what it was. Some were saying too much, too little, this, that. So
I would say
where did we
at
land?
least 5, I wouldn't say 3, I'd say at least 5.
5 or 10? 5, or I think 5 years would seem logical. If it's 10 years, they should be in dormant status and protect themselves, right?
Yes. Does anybody else have comments about that?
This is Megan. So after, what is it, 5 years, they would have to just start all over?
Yeah, they would, well, that would be up to the committee if they can reapply, or if they're just done and they go into dormant and they just have, I mean, the goal, if they do the 5 years and say they stop in the second year, then they're going to dormant status and they could go into dormant status forever until they're ready to begin again. But, I mean, you can allow them to reapply, yeah, you could do that, but then I'm not sure. Yeah, you can allow them to reapply. Okay. So do you think that keeping it at doing the 5 years and then not being able to reapply? I'm gonna say no to the reply. We need to recently look at the reply. Because we didn't have to vote themselves.
This is Haley. What about the idea of if they want to reapply after 5 years, they have to go to the board? No?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anytime we have to
Special
go to the board.
permission.
I mean,
This is true.
that is a possibility, but I'd rather just say it if that's what we want, what Paul, we would need to go until, I would have liked to be able to say, what would the conditions be? And then let the board approve that, and then now we,
Oh, okay.
that makes sense?
Yes.
Whatever that is.
If it's able to be put into a dormant status and there's no time limit on the dormant status, if my concern would be what if they come back 15 years? Things have changed since then. So all of that education could be that they got the 15 years prior may not really be current.
True, but, so the way it's worded is if they go into. If they take a leave of absence, if somebody takes a leave of absence or whatever, it goes away for a time frame. They have to provide HLO with a certificate of completion or training, whatever the name of the document is. And then that would go, if they go to the same supervisor, they would have that information. And then they would, what information do they know? What information, kind of like they would do with a school. Test them out, what do they need to know new, what has changed, so, yes.
This is Tammy. So I understand what you're saying about things changing. However, the basics of hair, nails, skin are never going to change. The layers of the skin, the layers of the hair, all the things you have to know. Little styles and things like that, procedures of how to do color, that kind of thing. Some of the more advanced stuff will change with time, but that's more of that could be adjusted. The basic stuff will never change. Safety and sanitation is not gonna change, you know what I'm saying, microbiology isn't gonna change,
Yeah.
that stuff will never change, that's all gonna be. Every book, I have books from the 70s that the basic information is the same as the new book today.
Right, they still have to pass a written and practical exam. So
Right,
we know
right.
they have to meet a competency baseline.
But that's just a kind of they'll have to refresh regardless. If you take a break, you have to refresh.
Yeah.
There's no way of getting around that. I don't know if I don't know what our fear is about this. I know that I heard people say over and over again that, they could just drag this out for a really long time and then they don't get paid and they get taken advantage of. But is the student really going to benefit from that? And I don't believe that's the case. So I really don't understand I don't think this is
You just continue working under supervision, basically.
but then,
It is, that kind of is what it is.
yeah. But whether that's 2 years or 5 years, I mean, that means the supervisor's not being ethical. That's a whole other subject, but it's not really benefiting the student.
Yeah, they still have to work under that person has to be on site
And they're not making the money that they have the ability to make. And I just don't see students signing up to sweep floors like people have said over and over again. I don't think that makes sense. But I mean, maybe I'm not seeing the big fear of it, but I don't see it as much as I do.
I can't see their hands up.
It says no raised hands.
Where did it say that?
At the bottom, in the box that says raised hand, there's no raised
Oh,
hands.
look at that, I didn't know.
So Sammy, this is Derek. If we allow someone to put that provisional into a dormant status, is that something they can do more than once?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's say they want to go back to college and go with their bachelor's degree. And they do finish that out for 6 months and they do it and they go back to their supervision and they're like, ugh, they're like, I'm going to get my master's now. Do that for a year and they go, go back to. Yeah, they can, there's no, the way I wrote it was that there's no limit. So,
Sean McMullen here. Is that, how does the other training programs?
great question.
Nice, Tricia, they don't have a dormant status option.
No, yeah, they don't have dormant status.
Oh,
It's something kind of new.
and they have hour requirements. Yeah. And usually it's a 2 to 3 year period of time frame. Not much.
Yeah.
The time frame is pretty slim. Either you're in or you're out. So, a person who does this kind of thing is either gonna be motivated to get through by alternating methods other than going to school, or somebody who's, wanting to take advantage of a family member, and that's kind of who you wanna.
Does body piercing have a time frame? I don't remember. I know they get a temporary license so that they can, hearing aid, you get a temporary license.
So standard training license, maybe renewed one time. After the second renewal becomes inactive, the individual may reapply for a temporary training license. So they can reapply in body piercing for a temporary license.
But there's nothing in rule that says that they have to have their training completed within a certain time frame.
Usually schools will put a time frame on them in
These
some
are
respects.
These are training programs that are not in a school.
Right.
Like body piercing, it's just in a piercing place. So it's different than what a school is.
This is Tammy. I think that what you're talking about though, Pam, has more to do with financial aid though, because they have.
It has nothing to do with financial aid.
Well, I don't have a time limit. If
Well,
for some reason they could.
incarcerated.
Okay.
But I don't think that
I'll
the
stop
normal cosmetology school, there isn't a time limit.
Are there any cosmetology schools, Terry?
Have to get done by X
Sorry to
amount.
break it to you, I am a cosmetologist.
Yeah, there she's first.
Yeah.
She said, actually,
Yes, there are requirements, maximum requirements.
they are. And is that through HEC or is that through financial aid? You know? And Karen's on the phone, so.
I mean, we can definitely ask Karen for clarification, but I think there's a couple of different avenues from doing it. Yes, there's an accreditation one that they have, but then there's also ones that are set within the school, and we can ask Karen for clarification from HEC.
For body piercing, your training must be completed in no less than 90 months from the date the office issues the license. So they can't be done any sooner than 9 months with body piercing. But it doesn't say they have to be done by 12 months or whatever.
So this is Pam. I just want to pose a scenario. Let's say that somebody decides they want to get a provisional training certificate and they go work in a salon. They have really no interest in studying, passing their test, any of that kind of stuff. They just see that as a way to get into a salon and to work without getting in trouble, right? So they go for years and years and years, and anytime somebody says something, oh, I'm working on it, I'm working on it, I'm working on it.
Actively working towards is what.
Right, but if there's not a time frame and they're not working on it, say they're not, the instructor, the supervisor just says, yeah, you're working, You're taking clients, you're doing blow dries, who cares? You're making me money, that's all I care about. And they don't have a time frame to get completed to become licensed. What is the, what is the railing there? Because that's right for, people, not doing the right thing. That's what I'm thinking about at this point.
Well, then.
What's your thoughts?
Sandy, the supervisor will be accountable for making sure those training records are kept, one.
But what is their recourse? What is the supervisor's, rail that they are required? They don't have a time frame. They don't.
Supervisor can say, I'm not supervising you anymore. You don't meet the qualifications, you can't pass the practical test, and I'm not signing off on your training.
But if somebody comes in and says, I'm working, and the supervisor says they're doing their job, I don't care whether they pass or not. As long as they're here, they've got this provisional certificate, they're cool. I'm not, if they don't wanna learn, then who cares? I keep doing my thing. So who's policing them? Who's telling them? How? We're not setting up any kind of guide.
Complaints.
Okay, a complaint, yes, if somebody complains.
That would be, usually I would go into a facility and say, can we see your provisional? Can we see your,
I'm
training
afraid that
logs.
I feel like we're not getting the point here. And the point is
We
that,
can put the 5 years, if that's what you're saying.
well, I'm opening this up for conversation. Is it just me thinking about this? Or is there not a room for concern that somebody could come in and not do this? And just say, I got my provisional certificate, I'll renew it every year, and I'm good to go. I can work. I don't have to go through the training that schools have to go through. Does anybody not see that?
Has a shower supervision, supervisor has to be on site. I mean, there's a whole lot of, can't move around, you have to stay at the same place. I mean, there's a lot of hindrances to being provisional that you wouldn't have if you were just getting licensed. What's the same?
What is going on?
Michelle McMillan here. I just wanted to say, I do understand your concern, but I also look at it as a perspective of we're trying to create opportunity here for people that don't live close to a school. And we can't police every single thing. We can't be everywhere every second. We can only put in what we can advise and, and regulate as far as that. So we just have to give the guidance and put these in place so it gives people opportunity to have a career.
Carrie has her hand up.
So I think we just need to stop worrying about some of these things because it's, I don't know. I just.
It will be.
Yeah, and then Megan, and then I have some, whatever.
Hello, this is Carrie. So I think one of our biggest issues that we have is it's not determined at all whether this program is going to be a paid for by trainee or paid for by supervisor. Because if a trainee comes in and they're paying, say, $5,000 to get this supervisor training, they don't want to hang out longer, right? But if the supervisor is the one that's paying them as an employee for all the work that they're doing, there's different outlooks to it. And I think this is where we're kind of getting stuck on this is we just don't have a perspective of how this is all going to kind of come about because that side is completely untouched. And when it comes up about why are we being so ticky-tacky about it, because this, I mean, we haven't even got to the financial impact of this, right? So this does affect a lot of schools and communities and individuals that either are going to be affected by this by losing students or from supervisors that have to put so much time and effort into performing this with kind of general guidelines. So I think that's why we are getting so vested in this, is because it has a huge implication on our state and small businesses.
This is Megan. I am wondering if maybe after like that 5 years or so, increasing the cost of the certificate. That way, people are more apt to get to pass their test and get their license instead of just stay in this training program for a long time.
Okay, this is Sammy. A couple things. So HLO doesn't generally get into the business of telling people how to run their business. If you have a student or a person that goes in and starts paying somebody to train them, they're probably a school, and they probably need to have a school license. If they're an employer relationship, they probably don't. I believe there's an exemption for that. And we've actually met with HEC a few times about this whole topic. But we don't really have the authority to go in and say, hey, supervisor, you have to have these people as employees or X or Y. We don't have that kind of authority. So it may have an impact on schools, it may not. There may be a bill that comes up in the next session. I don't know. It wouldn't be one that a health licensing office would put forward. We don't get that opportunity very often, but it is something that we could, weigh in on or provide feedback on. But it's going to be on a case-by-case basis in these facilities under these supervisors, how these people are brought in, these provisional certificate holders are brought in to learn the craft, whether it be an employee-employee relationship. I'm this provisional certificate holder, and I'm going to pay the supervisor. That's more of a training school situation where they would probably want to check with HEC and see what the school requirements are for that, see if they fall under an exemption for HEC. So some of these things are outside of our control. Some things, anytime you get a license, you have to obey rules of many other things, right? So I have a driver's license, but I have to obey Department of Transportation rules, and I have to obey city rules, and this rule and that rule. So I'm not absolvent of all the other rules and regulations in the world because I have a driver's license. I'm still have to make sure that I know everything else. So if there are other things that employment requires me to do because I have employees, you have to do that. And you don't get to not do that because you now hold this provisional license. So you still have some, what's the word for? You have to make sure you do your due diligence and make sure that you've covered all your bases, whether that be, if you're not making an exemption for a career school, maybe you are a career school. Maybe you need to check into that.
This is Pam. This whole conversation started with a time frame. And just like with licenses, driving licenses, all that, everybody's got an expiration date. And my position is just, I would feel better if we had some kind of expiration date on the training that someone can renew annually for 5 years. After that, if they're not in dormant status, they start back at the beginning. That's my position.
Right. And then I said, does anyone else have a position? And nobody said. Oh no, somebody said, can they reapply? Teresa, and I don't know if Megan is supposed to have her hand up still, and then Carrie. Okay, so Teresa and then Carrie.
Okay. This is Teresa. So back to the whole time frame on the education. So for like in our competency-based schools, we still have a time frame that they have to complete their education by. So for an example, a Saturday only student that's hair and aesthetics would have 199 contracted weeks to complete that time, so roughly 50 months. So even in our competency, we maintain that. So I do think putting a time frame on when they should complete by for their programs is beneficial. So that way it just ensures they get in and get it done unless they go into a dormant status.
So do you think 5 renewals is,
Say that again, sorry.
5 years, 5 annual renewals?
Yeah, I think that would be fair because I mean, 199 weeks for 2 programs, you add nails onto it, it goes even longer if they're going to do that. So I think 5 years to complete them all would be sustainable if they're doing it 1 day a week. So most people, if they're doing more than that, would get it done prior to the 5 years.
Okay.
This is Megan. So once they complete all of the hours and like theory and everything they need, don't they have to go get their license anyways? Or what would be the purpose of doing the program or any of that? Why isn't it just shut off at that point?
I think that this rule says that upon completion of the education, instruction, and training, a provisional certificate may not be renewed. So you're saying that once a supervisor has signed off and they sent,
This is Megan, because we have to report all that to you guys anyways, correct?
the certificate of training?
Yes, is that just something that is given to you upon completion of the whole thing, or is there like a yearly thing that we're supposed to send in?
No, it would be probably at the end, unless there was some kind of a stop, like you go on leave of absence or something.
This is Carrie. One of the things that we do within the school is certificate completion is based on attendance, right? And so if these salons or these provisional, right, supervisors are saying that it's going to be a 1 day a week program and they're getting 8 or 9 hours per week, that's a long time to complete barbering or hair design. So how we do it is we do an estimated graduation date based on attendance. If the program is X number of hours, so that's what's interesting about this is that it could go on forever if it's 1 day a week. So you might keep pushing into multiple years.
Michelle McMullen here. So I think we're gonna just keep it so it's separate.
The way I wrote it, about 5 years.
Can we take a vote?
What would the vote be?
Whether to put a time limit or not? I mean, if we I threw out 3 different time limits, 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years. So if we said 5 years, I would ask a vote for a time limit or not having a time limit. What's everybody at home thinking? quiet group today. Over here. Can you hear anything from that speaker? Yeah, I mean, once people start talking, you can hear.
It's like they're blaring.
Is it?
Yeah. Like this is the only speaker that's on, I'm pretty sure. I don't think anyone wants to vote.
The participants online, do you guys have any thoughts? Oh, Carrie.
This is Carrie. So we gotta have a timeline. There's gotta be a timeline.
I'm suggesting a
Pamela has
vote.
suggested several, 3, 5, 10 years.
Well, just go with something in the middle. 5. There's no understanding of how this is going to run. Somebody could get done with it in, 5 months. And if someone's going to be there for 5 years to get a license in hair design, good luck to them.
I think the main concern is people that like have to take time off. That might be for caring for a sick parent and just not able to do that program, to extend the timeline for the opportunity to be able to complete the program if they come back to do that and are renewing their certificate.
Then
This
they
is
gotta
Pam.
this is Carrie. Then they gotta come back and reapply.
Well,
If they haven't done it in 5 years, their focus has changed. They got to start the process over again then.
guys, this is Pam. That's why we have the dormant status option. If they have an incident where they have to go away from work and they can't be working, they would be placed into dormant status.
This is Megan. So is there a limit on how long that dormant status can be?
No.
No.
Okay, thank you. I think 5 years is fine then, because if something does happen and they're able to go into dormant status, it shouldn't take, 5 years and have them renewing that. I think having that dormant status be available for however long they would need is good.
I agree. 5 years seems long enough if they're going to consistently do it, but the dormant status in there makes it better for them if they need to step out for something more serious.
This is Stormy. I also agree, as someone who was in the field 15 years ago and had to step away and didn't take advantage of using a dormant status. I had to go all the way back through school. So I think 5 years is ample.
Trish and then Akaike.
This is Tricia. So let's say, for example, somebody goes in and they complete 3 years. They need to go into a dormant status for 3 years. That's 6 years later. Does their 5 years start over, or does it pick up where it left off?
It would. It does. Yeah. Okay, conditional leave request. Must be done for prescribed office. The office will place the person in a dormant status. The provisional certificate from dormant status, the certificate holder must submit a completed form, pay a fee, test to doing stuff, and then upon removal from dormant status, the provisional certificate shall resume in the same status it held prior to being placed in dormant status. For example, a provisional certificate can be renewed 5 times and.
Oh, so it does have the 5 times in there.
Yeah.
So it was addressed in there. Yeah.
That was a different license. As an example.
So we do have it in there as the 5 times.
For example, provisional can be renewed 5 times and has been renewed twice before entering dormant status. The certificate will have 3 renewals remaining upon reactivation of the certificate.
So it's addressed in there already. Or that's just a
Example.
example.
but the example is accurate.
Yes, that's exactly what we're looking at, yeah.
This is Derek. Do we want to make it 5 renewals or 4 renewals? 4 renewals would be a total of 5 years. 5 renewals would be a total of 6 years.
5 seems to be a round number, so maybe 6 years total, because it could renew 5 times.
That's actually 6.
Conte has her hand up.
Oh, yeah, Kaite, go ahead.
All right, so I think that the 5 years is perfect. And then secondly, the question I did have is, when say that you go into the dormant status, does that and then say the 5 years is up, does the education you've already acquired expire as well, or does it just stay there and then continue? So say, for example, after the 5 years, you have to start all over. It doesn't just wash out everything you've already done, does it? Is that what we're saying?
Are you in dormant status?
There's no time limit on dormant status.
No, not dormant. I'm talking about the education that you've already acquired. So say you go 2 years into the program and then you have to go take care of a sick parent. And then you've already acquired, maybe 55 hours. And now, you've done the science stuff. Now 5 years pass by, you've not returned. 6th year, you're coming back to resume. Are we saying that all of that which you've already done is a wash and you have to start all over again, doing the science and all of that?
You just read it, it was they're in the same status as when they.
Yeah, but she's saying they're not in dormant status.
Oh, they're not in?
If they didn't apply.
I think it would be up to the supervisor to determine kind of where they're at in the program and what they need to relearn.
Okay. Exactly. Okay. So then it's not a wash because, what I heard, 5 years and then you have to start all over. I want to make sure that we're very clear in terms of how we are writing that. Because, we could make it vague, leave it up to the supervisor or what have you. But if we just say after 5 years it expires, then the assumption would be you have to start all over again from scratch. Am I making sense?
Well, I think so. Yeah.
This is Derek. We have several other training programs, and it does kind of depend on the board. If your training license expires and you reapply to continue the training, it depends on the board whether or not that training carries over. So we do have some boards that if you reapply, the hours you did can carry over, and other ones you got to start all the way over. So.
Perfect. So there is precedence.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. No, that would be helpful to carry, keep the consistency throughout.
This is Tricia. Do they have a late fee? Like if they don't renew on time? A provisional? Okay. Let's say, what if if they don't renew, it just automatically goes into a dormant status?
Like independent contractor?
Yeah. So that they don't have to apply for the dormant status. So if something does happen, it's just automatically dormant and they can come back and reactivate.
There's a reason why we don't do that.
It's an interesting idea.
We allow it for independent contractors and freelance because they already hold a license. And those are like kind of a business endorsements. That would be something we've never done, letting,
Well, in your wording here,
because then you're picking and choosing who gets to just follow the dormant, and then that would be a problem. Because then is everybody following the dormant, whatever new? Why don't these guys, why don't we have to pay a late fee? That'd be up to when we have to run by team.
this is Pam. In your wording, it does say that once you've got the certificate, you have to be working towards your qualifications. And that if you have an issue that comes up, you're required to go into dormant status. So if somebody just chooses not to do that, isn't that more like an inactive status than a dormant status? Because you have inactive.
Basically, dormant status puts you in timeout, just like holding pattern. Inactive means you have, you can only be inactive for 3 years, and then you become expired.
And that's what the qualifications are for a normal license. So that's why I was referring to it in the same context as this. If they don't ask for dormant status, they would then go into an inactive status and are subject to disqualifying all of their work so far. But because we don't have a time frame on dormant status, they've got a family emergency or they change states or whatever the case is, that gives them a lot of leeway there. But if they're working toward their certificate, they have to stay in that forward movement. That's what you have written here.
Yeah, actively working towards.
Yes,
That's what's in the law, so I
number
think-
6,
Right.
So yeah, this is Derek. I mean, we have the option to keep it consistent with all of our other licenses where if it's not renewed by the renewal date, it automatically goes into that inactive. But if someone wanted to go dormant, then they have to notify us prior to becoming inactive.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
So would we just, it can be renewed annually, period? We wouldn't limit how many times they could renew? Or we just wouldn't need dormant status?
I thought we landed on 5 years.
Well, I'm just making sure that everybody's congealing accurately, because we're talking, some things overlap, right, Pamela? And if I'm the one writing the rule, I want to make sure I'm understanding what we're trying to get at. So I'm asking, are you saying we're gonna keep with the 5-year limit and a 3-year inactive? Or would we just remove the 5-year limit, and then if they don't renew, they just become inactive and then they expire?
But I think if someone is actively working, even if that's 1 day a week or 1 day a month, they could have the option to renew up to 4 times or 5 times, whatever. Yeah.
Up to 5 times?
Or, I mean, if we want to make it 5 years total, then it would be 4 renewals. If we wanted to make it 6 years total, it'd be up to 5 renewals.
Can I ask a question? This is scary. So if you're a single parent or whatever, and you're only able to be working actively towards licensing for 1 or 2 days a week, it's gonna take you more than that amount of time. You have to work a full-time job, you gotta feed your kids, you gotta do whatever you gotta do, or you have to help take care of your parents, whatever it is. I feel like I understand this number that we pulled out of the air, but it concerns me that it could be a problem for somebody who has a different situation.
This is Megan. Should we just make it 10 years so that that does give more time?
Or you could just maybe renewed annually and just leave it, and then we have.
But if it's only 5 years, then at the end of that, then it's.
No, it would just be, you can renew it annually.
Right, that, and it,
So this is Derek, just a quick little math. If someone works 8 hours a week for 5 years, that's.
This is like an environmental.
No, I'm just trying to give an idea of how much time. So if someone works 8 hours a week for 5 years, that's 2,000 hours. So that's almost double the amount for hair design, which is the highest number. So
Plenty of time. They have plenty of time. They can do it. It can be done.
So that's like 4 to 5 hours a week for 5 years. But I mean, it's up to you guys.
it can work, and it can work.
Carrie?
This is Carrie. So just to ask some of the people that are on our call that are thinking about instilling this in their salon, do you want somebody in your salon for 5 years going through this process? Do you want them in your place for 10 years going through this process? Or do you want to get them graduated and certified so that they can come in and be a regular full-blown employee or stylist, whatever the vision.
My apologies, I can't find the hand raising thing, but just from an educator standpoint, I think it would 4 hours a week for 5 years. I don't know, if you were only in school for 4 hours a week, there's going to be, I don't know if there's enough repetition to thoroughly learn the material, whether, if you're doing it over a 5-year period. I know, for example, that health occupations, there's a time limit on when your classes expire because you forget so much. And in the case of microbiology and whatnot, things do change, at least for health occupations. So 5 years is more than generous. And I think if somebody's only putting in 4 hours a week on average, that they just forget so much between classes, quote unquote classes. In other words, I think I agree with what Derek was saying.
So this is Pamela. I would like to ask that we have the 5-year limit on the renewals, 4 renewals in that 5-year period. If they don't go into dormant status and on renewal, they become inactive, like we had frameworked it before. That sounds really logical to me, and I would feel great about that. So that's what I would propose that we do.
I agree.
I agree. That sounds reasonable and be able to proceed.
Agree.
I agree with that.
Sounds good.
So, maybe renewed 4 times, and then they can request to go in dormant status, and if they don't, then they just go to the normal HLO, active, inactive, and expired protocol, which is in statute, which is automatic. But it's easy to say. Once, I did hear something about once the certificate of training has been received by HLO, sent by the supervisor, should go into expired status. Like I've heard that bounced around a little bit. You can maybe just be silent about that. And once they get a license, everything becomes inactive as far as provisional goes. It says that. Yeah. That once they get a license, the certificate, that goes inactive. But I also heard today someone say once you get a transcript, they can't be a student anymore. Well, once we get a certificate of training, Can they still be a professional certificate holder? Well, yeah, because they have a license.
Sammy, it does say upon completion of education, instruction, and training, a provisional certificate may not be renewed.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if.
Once we get it, we manually change it to expired. Is that what you mean?
Once a supervisor has sent HLO completed certificate of training, professional certificate must be placed in expired status or is expired, or they can't work on it anymore.
Yeah, we should manually go in there, change it to expired so that it can't be renewed.
Right, HLO will definitely do that,
Yes.
but I want to make sure that whoever, I just heard somebody say it, I don't know if it's necessary.
Can I ask a question, Tammy? Before you get to that, I guess I'm still kind of confused. So you're saying if they renew their 5 years, they go into dormant, then what? Because now you've said their 5 years are up, they have to start all over? I mean, I don't understand what happens because they've done their 5 years. If they didn't get it done, how is going into dormant make sense? I guess I don't understand that.
Because I don't understand.
We determined, this is Pamela, we
I'm still
determined that
talking, we
dormant
were
status can
saying
be in.
after 5 years, they only get 5 years. So everybody said, yeah, just 5 years. So then you just said, after that 5 years, they go into dormant status. Then what?
That's not what I said. No.
I thought that's what you said.
No, they can request to be in a dormant status.
Yeah, but then what happens to that, all that they did in that 5 years, if they're in dormant? What happens
If
when
they
they
come back,
come
they
back
pick up where
out?
they left, then they have to get a license.
When they come out of dormant status, and they're gonna start where they left off.
Okay,
That
so
was
it's
at the end.
not 5 years then. So it's 5 years and then you have to go into dormant, and then how long does dormant last? A week, a
Okay.
day, 5 days?
Way
I
out
mean,
there.
I don't understand where you're,
So you can get a license for 1 year and then you get to renew it 4 times. If
Right.
in that cycle of 5 years, you need to go on leave of absence, you're gonna go right out of the country for 6 months. So you're gonna apply to be in dormant status. And so and at that time, I think probably we wanna get something from the supervisor saying where they left off in hours. And then once you have to apply to come back out of dormant status. And you're gonna start right where you left off.
It just stops the clock for a while.
right, but that's not what I thought I heard you say. I thought I heard you say after 5 years, then you go into dormant status.
No.
Okay, so I misunderstood what I heard you say that. Okay.
That's what I said, it's not right.
So they have 5 years, once their 5 years are up, they're done. They don't have they have to start all over or go work at work.
If 2.5 years and they decide to go to Canada for whatever reason, in 2.5 years into their 5, they're in dormant now, right?
Right, I understand that. I'm
Okay, so
asking
they
what
can do
happens
the
at the
next
end
2.5.
if they didn't do it in 5 years, then what happens? That's what I'm wondering, because it seems like.
Could come back and finish up. Yes, 5 years.
So just to clarify, if someone is actively working for that 5-year period and still does not complete the total number of hours, then that license would become expired. They would have to apply again. But I don't know if we've decided whether or not the previous 5 years hours you would carry over.
I don't know.
How does HAS work? If their temp license expires?
I don't know, I think it depends on the board.
Because
Because with nursing homes, the trainers, if you don't complete it, then you gotta start all the way over. Those hours do not carry over. We do have other professions like environmental health trainees where if that expires, you get to carry the hours that you did for the first round, carry those over to the next round until you finish.
I think the deal is to not do it. No, I don't think it makes sense, but I'm just saying hypothetically, it could happen.
This is Pam. The deal is, if somebody sees that they are not able to complete their training in the 5-year period, all they have to do is go into dormant status. It's there's no time limit on it. And if they choose to come back, then they can pick up where they left off. So they have a window of, it could be forever if they do it correctly. If they don't do it correctly, it goes into the inactive, and then they have to start all over again. So we've given them safety valves for life situations, but this is also, yeah, that's it.
Sammy, not to hijack it, but
What?
how does everybody else feel about that? If someone is actively working for 5 years and still does not get to the total number of hours, they would have to reapply. Do we want those hours to carry over, or do we want them to start all the way over?
I feel like forget it. Why have the limit?
That's
Why have the renewal limit if we can carry them all?
I mean, we have other boards like that, so.
This is Tricia. I do think that when they have to reapply, they're paying an application fee again. They're paying for the provisional license again. So there is a little bit of an incentive. Maybe the cost goes up, when they have to reapply or something.
But I think we're talking about the training they've already attained.
Right.
In the previous 5 years that they.
Yeah, having it carry over would be fine, but as an incentive to say, hey, you don't want to get to that point and have to reapply because it's gonna cost X number of dollars to do that. It's gonna cost more than just a renewal. It is a little bit of an incentive to try and get it in under the 5 years. I shouldn't lose it all.
No. It's really given opinions.
All right,
It's very quiet.
And carry forward. Okay. And. Eight. 26. Oh, God. Yes. Oh, the name tag. I had several options here. I had to wear a name tag, put a sign up at the front desk. There was a third option, and I went with name tag.
and signage was what I proposed, so that the public knows they're doing that program. And that this person that is the trainee is, is identified as well.
So more than just wear a name tag.
Name tag and signage.
And what is the signage required to say?
Signage is just a provisional certificate holder from Oregon Health Licensing.
Well, their name tag will say designate that they're training while services are being provided. So it's signage.
As a consumer, I think that they should know if they're having a provisional certificate holder as opposed to a fully licensed caregiver.
But they're gonna have a big old name tag on.
They'll have a name tag, yeah. Yes, they'll have a name tag.
This is Tricia. What about something at the workstation where that trainee is working?
Can we inquire what page you're on, please?
I think it's 26.
On the screen, and it's page.
It's not showing on screen. I can see what's on screen, but it doesn't have a page number because it's not at the top or the bottom.
It's 51 for us at home.
51. Thank you.
Because there's this a PDF, so it starts with like all of this stuff.
So do they have to have the name tag and the signage? Why do they have to have both? One or the other seems
Signage would be for the salon as a whole is showing that they are participating in the apprenticeship training program.
Why is that
And-
matter? When it's really what matters is the person.
Because as a consumer coming into a business, if you are having somebody who is a trainee working on you as opposed to a fully licensed cosmetologist, I as a consumer would want to know that. And so if you have signage, pardon me?
They're gonna have a name tag on that says, I'm a trainee.
The person would have a name tag on, yes, but say you didn't want to have a trainee working on you.
And they would say no to the trainee.
That would be after the appointment's made and all that. So that's just my position. I'm just
They
saying.
have them sign a waiver, there's a whole host of things you can do.
Right.
So
So
that is really kind of up to you guys how far down that road you want to go. Is this the signage at the front counter? Is it at the workstation? Is it supposed to be told about when they call and make an appointment? You want me to say decide?
Also, what about people booking appointments online?
All those things.
We're having a signage and
if you
facility
have signage, you could put signage on your Vagaro, whatever you use. You could say that
That's a lot of
we
stuff.
support provisional training certificates, something on that line. That's all I'm proposing to the group. It's up to everybody else to decide, but that's what my position is, signage and a name tag.
This is Megan. So, with the name tag and all of that, that's going to be required. Is that something that will be paid for or provided by the board, or is that something that the supervisor or certificate holder needs to pay for?
The supervisor or provisional license holder.
So as the board, if you had a logo of some kind that showed that the person is a provisional certificate holder, they're gonna have to have that on the wall for view, right? They get a
They get a
provision.
license that looks just like the other licenses.
Okay, so an
It just will
inspector
say-
wouldn't know the difference when they look by the numbers?
Let's say provisionals.
Okay.
The inspector will know the difference.
Yeah.
Okay, would consumers know
If they walk up and look at it,
that it's different?
then it'll say provisional certificate rather than practitioner nail technology certificate.
I think it says practitioner.
Yeah, I don't know if it will say provisional and then the field to practice. I don't know what it will say. Okay. We're on page 28, no, I'm sorry. 30 in the room and 55 online. I don't know how I missed this.
Okay, so this is Carrie. So sorry to keep interrupting here, but you are referring to you're being on page 55. Ours goes from 51 to 103.
Well, I'm looking at the PDF page number. I apologize, the page numbers were not put at the very top for each, so each individual file, if you're looking at the page at the bottom of each page, you're gonna be looking at the wrong thing.
But it goes to 48. And then after 48, it goes to statement of needs and fiscal impact.
I think she's looking at the
Yeah, we're on
number
page
that's
30.
printed on here.
Did you print it?
I've got it pulled up on my screen.
Should be page 55. It's on your screen. Not what's in the bottom, right?
No, I'm not looking at the bottom. I'm looking at the big number at the top that goes from 50 to 51. And then after 51, it goes to 103.
Are you looking at the rule number?
No, I'm looking at the giant number that's in black at the top of the.
No, 55. Page 55.
She's looking at the header page numbers that I think you put in there.
I
They're
didn't
not
put header
accurate.
page numbers in.
It goes from 51 to 103.
Slides.
Oh,
It's only on some.
yeah, this imagery right here.
Oh, geez, it's on the old stuff.
See this right here?
Okay, no, so you want to just ignore if there's any other page number except for the PDF. The little 55 to the 82 pages at the very top, very, very top.
Don't put your cursor.
It's not really that. Right here where I'm pointing my cursor. Here, 55.
Okay, so 55 of 82. That's what you're looking at.
And I can, of course, change that in here.
Making it very difficult.
I apologize, Carrie. So while Carrie gets that together, I'm gonna call a short recess. Till 11:55.
What?
It's a short recess till 11:05. Page 55 on the PDF and 30, which is hold an active, that the supervisor must hold an active provisional certificate. In the field of practice in which they're going to supervise, so that's in statute.
Amy, did you want to share your screen again?
I haven't done it helpful before, I'm not sure it's helpful. And then page 56 on the screen. Page 31. Oh, there's the name tag again. So then I'll make. I'll try a few different things with that. Page 57. And page 32, number 2. Documentation of supervision. So the supervisor is responsible for receiving and maintaining supervision records. If they're designated as primary, they're responsible for all of those records. And then C is they must maintain the records for 10 years.
Some got kicked out of the thing, Carrie.
She's not in the lobby, so
Log
if
on.
she rejoins, I can bring her back.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, this is talking about submit a certificate of training per field to practice on a form prescribed by the office. Official certificate holder has completed all education, instruction, and training in field practice if they take the leave of absence from the profession. But I think it'll probably be dormant status instead.
Is in dormant status.
On page. So page 59. Before provisional, I think I got all this question. So currently, if you're coming through pathway 1 or 3, you take this practical exam at a school. Pathway 4, I wouldn't imagine that we'd have you traveling to a school to take the test. So then the question becomes, as a supervisor, can they just give the test as long as they've got the parameters that they would that everyone would be required to give each practical exam? Would you want them to be approved? Would you want them to be different than who the supervisor is? But then is that fair since you're teachers who actually teach and then give the practical? So I'm just kind of, I don't know how far down the practical exam hole you want to go. I can go far, I just said what dance, midwives.
Do you have materials to provide the supervisor for practical exams? Do you have the paperwork that says this is what you need to do, you have all that paperwork already? Okay, so that would be logical to give it to the supervisor and then they could run the test do that way?
Yes.
That's.
Everyone's okay with that? That makes my life easy.
Yep.
Oh, is everybody on the phone or on Zoom okay with that?
May I make the suggestion? How about we say that they could do it one of two ways? Either the supervisor could do the practical exam in the facility, or they could go to a school and have it done there. Let's open it up that they could choose.
That's how it is.
Okay.
That's how it would be.
We've already worked part of it.
I just wasn't sure if when approval proctor and all this. Okay,
So that is number 4.
so that rule is not actually in here. It is. Right before the retake rule. I'll get that added to the next meeting. So I have new questions about all this box. Page 63. And I don't know if you just want to ponder this for a while and then we can revisit it. It might be super easy, it might be simple, I don't know. I just feel like that's something may need to be said about merging pathway 1 and pathway 4. You know what I mean? Somebody who's out of school and then he decides to do the crossover and go to a supervisor and vice versa. Like how, yes, wait.
Personally, I would say that they start over. If they're in a school and they can't make it in a school, then I would say that they could go into a provisional program, but they'd have to start over. Because that information will come back quickly. They can get it checked off. If the supervisor says, yes, they're competent in this, they can get up and running faster than somebody who doesn't know anything. But to keep it easy on yourself, I would say that if they go from pathway number 1 to number 4, they would have to start over.
Sammy, this is Tammy. I thought that in the House bill, it said that they were transferable, the hours and stuff.
This is Megan. Yeah, I recall the conversation between like transcripts versus, just how you would, because you couldn't call transcripts if it was with the supervisor, but it was with the school, so then it would be transferable.
I remember. I mean, I understand that theoretically that's great, but to kind of need to give somebody that roadmap. Does that make sense? So they won't know what to do to get the license. I think maybe I'm wrong.
Well, this is Tricia. It does say in the bill that the number of hours of supervised experience completed by the holder of a provisional certificate shall be credited in equal number toward the total number of educational hours required for issuance of a certificate under. So it sounds like it does have to be kind of a 1-for-1.
Correct.
And
Then just leave it, be silent about it.
I think we had talked about this already, that, they need to keep the records of what everybody's learning and the things that they, the practical applications they've done, all of that, so it would be transferable. But that's how I thought it was understood.
So
This is
question
Carrie.
2.
So the question is, can hours go from a school to a provisional program and vice versa from a provisional program to a school? Is that the question that we're asking right now?
how do you, yeah,
Because schools provide transcripts and provisional programs do not, right?
Certificate of education though, correct? Isn't that what they're-
well, I guess nowhere in, that I know of, and maybe it's somewhere, it's written somewhere else, that if somebody leaves a school, the school is required to send the transcript to HL. They didn't finish.
This is, I mean, it's not required, but it is required that you have to release that transcript to the school if it's requested, so you can't hold it. You have to forward that educational information on.
So this is Carrie again. So my understanding is, and this is where we need Karen, is my understanding is, or sorry, it's my understanding that if somebody does not complete the program, we're required to fill out a transcript for them and send it to Oregon Health Licensing for holding, because on a transcript there is literally a box that says withdraw date. So why would Oregon Health Licensing put that on a transcript if they don't want it on file? Do you know what I mean? You don't understand what I'm saying? I understand we have to keep it. Okay. If somebody withdraws, we have a transcript that shows their required operations. And there's even a little box on a transcript that says, did they create their final written exams? So that makes me think that Oregon Health Licensing does want these, because those two items would be only for somebody that didn't complete the program. But then again, mind you, these transcripts were created when this was under HEC. So maybe it was that they have to be on file with HEC, but that rule didn't roll over when it came to Oregon Health Licensing.
Okay. Okay, so I will bring something simple back that just says if somebody leaves the supervision program at any time, or the school, that the training certificate or the transcript needs to be sent to HLO. And then those two things would merge. Go ahead, Karen.
Yeah, I would just say that every student that attends a licensed school is entitled to have a transcript that should document whatever they completed. So if they dropped out partway through, yes, your transcript would say they withdrew or they did not take their final exams or whatever the case is. And whether or not that's sent to have licensing, I don't know. For someone who withdrew, where I see that would be sent to health licensing is if that student then goes to another school and the school requests the transcript, then that transcript will be sent with the new school to document they completed the whole program. But every student of a school, regardless of how much they complete, is entitled to a transcript that documents what they did complete.
I have a question, Tammy. This is Tammy. So are you wanting people from a school that if they don't complete the program, do you want all those transcripts sent to you? Because that's never been a thing in the past.
I don't know.
So
I just know somebody's gonna go, I wanna go from a school to a supervision.
Which is
And I wanna
fine.
know what we need to do as an office to tell them, to give you guys direction and also give this perspective certificate holder direction.
So if I didn't finish school, I'm sorry, Trish. If I didn't finish school and I'm gonna now go to a provisional license, then I let that supervisor know, they contact the school sends the transcript to them, and now it's with their file, because if somebody transfers from another school to my school, I get a copy of what they did, and then when I send it in, I have that information on the transcript that I do at their end when they complete. It's part of the documentation.
It's the transfer hours at the bottom.
Yes, so all that goes together in a nice little package. Why can't that happen as well?
Okay.
Or vice versa, if they do, but it's gonna be that other certificate of education or whatever they're doing with the provisional. I'm sorry.
This is Tricia. I think the only reason they were recommending maybe that it comes to us is because.
No, I wasn't recommending.
Oh, you weren't? Oh.
No, no. It was, somebody had said it, I'm just mentioning it,
Oh.
so I can check it off my little box. That's the only reason.
I would just be concerned about, because they're not a school that's through HEC, that those records, what if that place goes out of business? And that person may not be able to be found 2 years down the line when they want to start over again or start with another place. That a fail-safe would be for us to have it.
Then maybe that's something to address with,
Because they're
in
not
the
going
say, if something happens with that supervisor and they're no longer a supervisor, then their records
Right.
must, because we already said they had to keep them 10 years.
Yeah.
So if they're gonna go out of business, then that information goes to HEC, or to not HEC, I'm sorry, HLO, instead of
HEC.
Right, so we don't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
If somebody withdraws, do you not just and automatically as the student give them the transcript?
No, they can't have it. It has to be official from the school.
Well, they should have it.
It's not official though.
It's not, we would not give them a transcript.
Right? That would be if they paid their
But they
bill.
would still, I mean, I don't think the supervisor is gonna need anything but a photocopy of what the person learned in
But
school.
it needs to be an official from, for that training that took place. It can't be something that the student gives them because we don't know if that's legit.
But when school A and someone withdraws, and they go to sign up for school B, when we get school A's transcript from school B, it's not certified from school A.
No,
It's just
school B is saying
woven
it
in.
is accurate. The
Right,
second
it's
school
woven
is
into
taking
that
that
new
responsibility.
Right.
This is Carrie. I have a quick question.
Why you can't give them a photocopy?
So we are required, if we have a transfer student as a school, we are required to have an official transcript sent to us for verification from the school they're transferring from. As well, we are required to put that official transcript in combination with the transcript from our school and send that into Oregon Health Licensing for licensure. So if they're coming from a provisional program, and a provisional program does not have a transcript, we can't accept those hours because we have to turn them into Oregon Health Licensing. We have to have an official transcript with documenting those hours and those required operations that they previously had. There's lines at the bottom that says previous hours from us or previous hours and practical operations from another school. And it has to be from an official transcript that we provide to Oregon Health Licensing.
Have to accept the training certificate, and that's what you're allowing people to do though. So if it's in the House bill, then there has to be a pathway for that to happen.
Then that means this is Carrie, then that means you have to require a provisional program to submit and do transcripts.
The challenge here is the transcripts from the supervisor. That's where the challenge is.
No.
Because how are they going to document either getting the information or doing the information? You have bookkeeping that they have to do. But as far as an official transcript goes, how are you guys going to navigate that? What is that gonna look like? What is the transcript for the supervisor, the final documentation, gonna look like?
This is Carrie again. And our official transcripts have to either be notarized or have to have an official seal.
Carrie, there is
Yes.
a certificate of training, which we provided at the last 3 meetings, that each supervisor would have to complete for a provisional license holder. At this point, we get emails from schools. So they're not notarized. I mean, we obviously.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. We have to have an official seal or we have to have a notary. If you don't have an official school seal, it has to be notarized. If
But it's still received electronically. It's not in paper form.
But the electronic version has to have an official seal or a notary on it.
Yes.
Yes.
So they would have something similar to that.
Then the question so you think of both ways. Then the question comes, a provisional program, right? If it comes from a school, they're going to have transcripts with the hours and that kind of stuff on there. So they accept those. But the provisionary program has to have a transcript.
So this is Pam, if a supervisor provides the certificate of training that says what they did in the salon, then do you, as Oregon Health Licensing, put a stamp of a seal, an official seal on it, or?
We don't. The school or training program that sends it to us at the bottom.
So then, the supervisor would be required to either have that certificate of training notarized or have an official seal of some kind.
I mean, what's an official seal?
Some have a stamp, some have a sticker.
Argument when we put this rule in place. It's really not, you haven't defined what it is. I know what a notary is, for sure, 100%.
Okay.
Right? But a school stamp, what is that? Is there an address on that? Is it just a name?
No.
There's so many things, right? What's a school seal? So we could just tell the facility, slap your facility name on it. I mean, if you're not defining it, you're really not giving somebody a roadmap as to what that is, except for that notary. So, I mean, you could definitely work with that, and they can just put their facility name on there. I know what the school stamp is and an official seal is, but if it's not defined, it can really be anything. It could be just draft. We wanted it to be a school name.
This is Carrie. I do believe in the documentation somewhere, it says what has to be on that official seal. Because I remember for the first couple of years, I went to the bank every single time I had a transcript and had it notarized. And then I created a seal and had to check through like what was on that seal. We have to have our license number, we have to have address and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's written in the rules and regulations somewhere.
So this is Derek. Just to clarify, is the concern for getting the certificate of training notarized that we're verifying or we're concerned that the trainer's not doing what they're supposed to do, or we're trying to get the transcript to match exactly like the certificate of training? I guess I'm confused as to why we need the certificate of training notarized.
This is Carrie. So if we're required as a school to submit to the state for licensure transcripts from our students. But in order to accept a student to come into our school, we have to have an official transcript that gets paired with our official transcript to turn it in. Then we're out of compliance. If somebody comes from a provisional program and they don't have a transcript, then we can't accept those transferred hours because we can't submit it with our transcripts.
Well, you wouldn't be out of compliance if we wrote a rule saying you were not. That's, I kind of guess that's where my point is.
So,
Is
okay,
there
this
a
is
rule
scary.
let me finish, Carrie. Is there a need for a rule that says when you've left a school and you go to a supervisor, that this has to be sent to the supervisor? And when you leave this, it's sent to the official transcript gets to go with the certificate of training, and the vice versa. Because if you write a rule saying that the school does not need to have an official transcript for somebody who came from a supervisor, then they don't have to have it.
So this is Carrie. So you're going to change the rules and regulations set for a school in order to adhere to this provisional program.
You just in this certain situation, when you have somebody coming who went to, say is being a provisional and they're not learning not getting what they need, so they're gonna transfer to a school, then that certificate of training goes to the school, and in that situation, we would write a rule that says the school can accept that in lieu of official transcript. In that little band of situation.
This is Megan. So basically, you're saying that with the the certificate would be accepted by a school without a seal or it being notarized?
I would have the signature of the supervisor, of the approved supervisor who's applied and is approved through HLO as a supervisor.
This is Pam. The challenge here is there's an imbalance in requirements. The schools are required to do more than a supervisor is required. That's where the problem lies.
What do they require? We can change what's on an official transcript right now. In these rules today, we can change it.
You can change the rules on.
You can literally just change it?
In the rule, we've defined what an official transcript is, and we can change what that.
So you can just rewrite the rules and regulations required by a school? It just now?
Well, because somebody coming out of the school is a student, and that student's coming for a license, and the people giving them the license need the official transcript. And so we are telling you what we need on that official transcript.
This is Megan. So you're saying that the facility, kind of where that's written, is going to take place of that seal or notary?
Yes, that's what they're saying.
Karen, go ahead.
Well, just a couple of things. While HLO does now, I'll say, own the transcript form, they determine what the transcript form looks like. HEC does have requirements for transcripts regardless. And I think we do have rules that say a school can only accept transfer hours upon receiving an official transcript from schools previously attended. So I'm not speaking concretely for HEC, but if you do something like being discussed, I think I need to speak with our team about what impact that would have, because we do have specific rules for schools that schools shall only grant credit when official transcript from a previous school is provided.
That's in your rules currently?
That's in our rules currently. And the other thing I mean, it sounds to me like maybe this is treated more like the non-credentialed pathway, except I realize they're holding in essence a provisional credential, but where schools are able to evaluate prior training, however it was earned. I don't know if there's any way to kind of merge that pathway.
This is Derek. I'm not sure if we're confusing
the same page.
the terms transcript and certificate of training, and maybe it's something that just kind of needs to be tweaked in rule, but essentially they're the same thing. We can't call the training program a transcript because it's not an official school, but essentially they're serving the exact same purpose.
But the requirements for a training certificate are less than the requirements for an official transcripts, and that's what's not fair.
Why do you, I mean, what are you?
This is Megan. So we would need to probably change the rule for the schools as far as what they would accept, right? It would have to be a transcript from another school or a certificate of completion from a supervisor.
We haven't defined certificate of completion, so we can do that for sure. I need to check into Karen's rules and see what Heck may need to tweak their rules to match what's in 2380, because you just read it, someone read it aloud, but it said, which I don't know. I don't know Heck rules very well. But Derek's right, essentially they're the same. One's on HO, maybe on HO, whatever, I don't know. Maybe we define that and then, yeah, let us come back around and reintroduce it on May 4th. And ask the question again once we get it flushed out.
That's one more question. So just to get a general idea, are you guys saying that the biggest difference in the transcript versus the certificate of training is simply that the certificate doesn't get notarized? I mean, is that the biggest concern, that they're not equivalent?
The transcripts don't have to be notarized.
This is Carrie. Our biggest piece is that we're held to these standards that we've had to follow. And if we're held to these standards and this is what's written in the rules and regulations, we follow them. So now to go through and to say, okay, we're changing it. I understand we're changing with the times, but then I don't want to go against Heck. They hold my license.
Right. I think what they're asking is, what are these requirements, HLO requirements that that the schools are needing to adhere to?
This is Karen. I'm not seeing that Heck requires a notary. It requires a school seal if used. And so I'm not sure about that, the requirement of a notary. And I'm just looking at the requirements for a transcript. Sorry, I had it up and then I went to something else. Yeah, I can give you the rule if you want it, but anyway.
This is Megan. How hard would it be to have a supervisor get the certificate of completion notarized?
The same it would take any other or anybody. Right?
I guess again, going back to my question.
You don't have to have it notarized, so why would they? Maybe they just have, signature.
But Sammy, don't you see the value of either the official seal or the notary to keep it legal and, that, I think that's where the problem is they're being held to certain standards and the supervisor wouldn't be. So I like the idea of getting.
Just add that portion at the bottom.
I like the idea of getting it notarized, because
No, I don't think we want to do that.
it's an either or. It would be aligned more closely with what the schools are required to do.
Okay, all right. So I've had my hand for a while now. If I may add one or two things. So I'm hearing a lot of what the school does and what the school doesn't do. And I think we are derailing again. We're here to focus on the pathway that reduces the burden on individuals who need an alternative means to get a license to work. And that pathway is to limit all the limitations of schools. I understand that there may be value in adding the notary and sealing it and all of that stuff. Let's just take a step back and see what our assignment is. It is not to figure out the nuances. That nuances is for the agency to decide. I think that our task is to decide what those things should be that they need to do to get this certification. And secondly, now I've lost my train of thought. I'm hearing a lot of back and forth that really I've forgotten where we were even at with the thing we were working on. So if we can just take a step back and have that conversation about the qualification, that would be fantastic.
This is Megan again. Yeah, I mean, I think having to have that notarized really wouldn't be that hard. I mean, I think even most places without, like, with or outside of that 50-mile radius, you and, you know, your supervisor would just have to go to a bank, everybody signs it, gets everything notarized, and then you'd be good.
And who would the cost be on? Who will be paying for the notary? And also, I understand that having it notarized, I'm not against any of that. I'm just saying that we need to come back to the task at hand. And now, I forgot what important thing. Karen had said something earlier, and I wanted to add to it, but with everybody in between, I forgot. But I'll come back to it.
So this is Derek. For those that want the certificate of training notarized, do you want it notarized simply because it better aligns with transcript requirements, or is there another additional benefit to getting it notarized?
Yes.
This is Megan. I personally just feel like it is a little bit more official, and I know that's a lot of the concern with using this pathway instead is that it's, you know, not as many hours and you don't have to, you know, do all of the same things that a school does. So I think something as simple as getting that document notarized, it would make it align a little bit more with the transcript and make it more official for the HLO and for, you know, getting your license.
Okay. Megan, thank you. I remember what I wanted to say. Josh, the question I had is, what about the other licensing requirement that has the alternative pathway? Do you have those certificate of completion notarized or sealed or what have you?
Yeah, any other training program, they don't have to get it notarized or sealed. And I guess my question is, how will getting it notarized prevent someone from messing with the hours that maybe they didn't necessarily do? All that notary is going to do is show that the form is complete, and both people are agreeing that the form is correct, but that doesn't necessarily prevent the supervisor from fudging the numbers.
Same as at school.
Yeah.
And the student does not sign the transcript. This is Tammy. They don't sign that.
Right.
They sign the application, they do not sign the transcript. Oh, that was good.
Sammy. This is Tricia. I'm just wondering, is there any reason that we couldn't use both pathway 3 and 4, depending on the situation? 4 is if they went 100% to a training program, but 3, if they're a combination of the two, because then they would kind of be like every other pathway 3, whether they're coming from out of country or they went to a training program they never finished.
I guess kind of like what Sammy said, this is Derek, that maybe what we'll do is we'll review all the transcript requirements, see if those can be changed or if we just need to better align the certificate training to match the transcript requirements.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you guys get a chance to have a conversation with Heck and you guys get aligned and we can revisit this again in May.
Yeah.
Okay,
This is Carrie. I have a quick question if we're kind of in between segments right now. And I like the idea of just verifying. It just needs to be able to go both ways. It needs to be able to go from a school to a provisional and a provisional to a school. We just want balance in it. That's it. So my follow-up quick question while we're kind of between segments right now is last time we were together, we discussed the 50-mile radius and how that had come up that the 50-mile radius was for the applicant, the trainee that was putting in for the provisional program. And the question came up about the supervisors and that the supervisors, it was kind of under our understanding that supervisors had to be within the 50-mile radius from a school as well too, but that was not in writing anywhere. It was said that this was going to be followed up on. So I just wanted to see about if that was followed up on and where we landed with that.
yeah, I think I said I wouldn't have been able to get with our attorney on that. It moved in a month. There's no way. But I could not get those questions answered.
Okay, well, thank you for the follow-up on it.
Actually, we did ask, and it's really clear that it's from the residents of the provisional certificate.
So it was from the resident of the trainer, right? Right? That was putting in.
Nope, the person who is going to obtain the provisional certificate,
The student.
from their residence.
Student. Right, but then we asked if we could put that in as the supervisor or the provisional portion of it, that the facility or the supervisor has to be within the 50-mile radius as well too.
This is Megan. That was something that I was kind of thinking about also, because where I live, people might live 48 miles away from a school, but only live maybe like 10 miles away from a facility that would be providing this.
Yeah, I think that we were only able to limit, place that burden on the resident, on the provisional certificate holder's resident address, that they have to be 50 miles from the school.
This is Carrie, and I do remember that conversation. And then we discussed as well as if we could put it within the provisional requirements that the supervisor has to be 50 miles away as well too.
Right, and what I'm telling you is you don't have that kind of authority to make that additional 50 miles requirement.
This is Megan. So you guys were able to talk to someone about changing that and they said no?
We did ask in the request, they said that what is specific is that the provisional certificate holder has to be 50 miles from their residence. So that's the only one.
This is Carrie again. So
we'll verify
so
that's my recollection.
What was that?
We'll verify it again, but that is my recollection that she said it was only limited to the resident.
This is Carrie again, and we understand it's only written as limited to the trainer, right? But that if we could write it in as part of because we're writing the requirements to become a supervisor. Right. To write in within the regulations of becoming a supervisor that either the supervisor is outside that 50-mile radius, or that the facility that is listed as the location is 50 miles away from a school.
I hear what you're asking, Carrie. And we asked it, but I will verify it again. But my recollection is no, we cannot write rules like that. But we will verify it.
This is Megan. So a facility can be within that 50 miles?
Only boundary that, the 50 miles is only from the person who's going to obtain the provisional certificate. That resident has to be 50 miles from the school. Nobody else, according to what we received the information, has to have that same 50-mile radius. Is allowed to, but we will verify it.
It should be facility only, not the,
Well, but
just
it
the
isn't
home
that way.
residence of either one of them.
We've asked.
I do agree it should be one or the other, but I also understand that, there's only so much that we can do about that. But like I said, we do have a lot of people within a 20-mile radius of here that are less than 50, but over 40 miles away from a school.
So they would not qualify.
So this is Carrie again. Do we have it that I remember that we have it that they have to have a facility, correct? That's part of it.
But they need to work in a licensed facility.
Okay, so then, and I agree that like the supervisor themselves doesn't have to be the 50 miles away from the school, but the facility that they're conducting the program at.
I asked that and I was given, no, we couldn't limit that, but I will ask again and verify.
And can I ask who we're asking? When we say asking, who are we asking?
We ask our legal counsel.
This is Megan. So if that is something that we really do want to change and have it be one way or the other, how would we go about that? Because like I said over here, I think that is going to deter people from doing this program because they don't live far enough out.
I can send you information on how to get a bill and a concept and work with the legislator on how to get that started.
This is Carrie again, but this is what we're writing right now.
Right, Carrie, but we can only write rules based on what the legislature has given us authority to write rules about. We can't write rules about licensing dogs because we can only license cosmetologists. So we have to work within that framework. And the questions we asked the attorney about the 50 miles were no, outside of our framework, but I will ask again.
Okay, so again, but I'm saying we have it written that they have to have a facility license. Can't you just extend the verbiage to say they have to have a facility license at the 50 outside of that 50-mile radius? I mean, you're writing the half of the sentence. Can't you continue the rest of the sentence?
This is Megan. I think it's already put in there as resident of the applicant. So I think we'd have to change that part first before we're able to move forward with having the facility, because I don't think anything's in there about the facility has to be a certain anything. It is just right now at the resident of the person applying to get this provisional certificate.
I'm sorry to speak up, but we're trying to do rules for this to go through of a bill that's going to start in January that's already been voted in, correct? I mean, the bill is that a student that lives 50 miles farther away from a school gets to use a facility, correct? It's already been voted on. It's in there. This is going to start January 1, 2027, correct?
Yes.
I mean, that's.
Yes, and we're just writing up what these facilities have to do to educate these individuals coming to their facilities.
The facility is only coming into play here as the provisional certificate holder has to operate in the facility.
Correct.
They can't operate with the supervisor and their freelance license or an independent contractor license. So it's not outside of that little box. The provisional certificate holder must work in a licensed facility.
Yes. Okay.
And that's in the rule. And that's what we're looking at. And That's what we've proposed, is that they have to work in a licensed facility.
This is
This is
Derek.
Megan, and there's no way to extend that to the resident or the facility.
We asked, and my understanding was no, but I will verify and ask again.
This is Derek. The bill gives our office certain authority to expand on some things, but not necessarily everything. So the reason why we can add things like facility is because it gives us that authority, but it doesn't necessarily give us the authority to change things that are in here, like the distance requirement. So that's something that we have to verify again with our legal team to see if we do have that authority. And if we do, then we can come back and we can work on changes. But if we don't, then it would require a legislative change from somebody in the public.
Yes. I'm gonna call for a 15-minute break. Okay, I'm gonna call for a 15-minute break. There's lunch in the room. I'm gonna go make a sandwich. So at 12:30.
Thank you.
We'll start back with aesthetics. Okay, so I'm on page 27. Aesthetics. Really page 28. 28 on the screen or page 13 if you stay in the room. Basically took the parameters of barbering and put it with each of the other fields of practice, which is for you guys to review and make sure the numbers all line up and look at. So for aesthetics, it's a 484-hour program, 174 hours of theory instruction, 310 hours of supervised practical experience, and 220 practical procedures. And then what the theory, the 174 in theory is all listed below. Theory, anatomy 18, microbiology 4, implements and tools 15. I don't know if that's, you guys want to leave the same structure, you want to look differently. I did add in the foundation and fundamentals of aesthetics, and I did 50. You guys have done 70 for barbering.
Barbering has a lot more hours though, right?
Yeah, not quite that.
Did you go over any of this at the aesthetic board meeting? No. Okay. Just curious.
Okay.
This is Megan. How many hours for the product knowledge and chemistry is in the barbering program?
Yeah, 9.
You guys actually had me do it a little bit differently for barbering than what's on the curriculum right now. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not true. That's not true. Yeah, Okay. It's your thumbs up sign, I can click. Okay, and then the next piece, so everything starts to lay out the same unless it's blue. And that's where the numbers vary, so. Ish. Oh. Remember I said earlier, I couldn't remember what I added to 6? Barbering. I said that these 40 hours are included in the 189 total. It didn't say that before, but I thought it might
Be
not.
included in the
Yeah,
196.
that's what I had added to this. So, we were this for aesthetics. 40 hours is 189. I don't know if this is the same breakdown you guys want for aesthetics.
Do we have aesthetic people in the group?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are they here?
Tammy.
I'm a licensed esthetician, but it's not my main field of practice.
I'm an aesthetic too. I'm okay with it. It's fine for me.
And the same thing with the practical procedures. I just put them similar to what they were covering. So 55 on mannequins, 55 procedures in direct supervision, and then 110 indirect supervision. No. I wasn't sure if this should be number 8, feels a little light. Feels like there's other procedures that should probably be in there, like about devices, or, I don't know, less about facial makeup, hair. Or maybe just add to skincare procedure, I don't know, maybe skincare procedures and services is vague enough. Okay.
Carrie has her hand up.
Yes, Carrie.
Hey, sorry to bug you, but I was curious. When we did the barbering one, it was very helpful to have the provisional training outline that went through like number 1, anatomy and physiology, and it was like 1.1, history of the hair and scalp. And it kind of went through and broke everything down so you could kind of see how they were put together and what the foundation of the education is. Is that included in here as well too for aesthetics?
No, I didn't include it.
Well, next page has kind of a breakdown.
I included a very brief breakdown, but not like the 1.1.2.2.59697, not that. No.
Did we have that breakdown in any of our prior meetings for aesthetics?
No, not for
None of them.
That is it possible to get something like that? Because that was very helpful when going through the barbering one, because you could kind of see like the operations and the it had everything. So you kind of could see like where it was going within what we're building.
It's the curriculum.
This is the one for barbering right here.
Yeah, it's the curriculum that has been approved by the board.
I just know I myself went through and kind of like made some notes on it to, justify where things were going for us.
Sammy, this is Tammy. I noticed that the numbers on the minimum operation on 32 and the ones on 30 are not the same. Like, it's got skincare procedures and services at 140, and in the blue box it says 150. So they're similar, different. 60 hair removals, 45 in the blue box, 20 and 25. So they are a little off. And it says 220 on 30 and it says 280 on here.
Okay.
Or that's ours.
No, no.
Here, what procedures don't necessarily apply.
No, they're not going to. Because that's not really possible. It's not what the rules are. It's not what Barbara is written either.
Oh, so we're not going off this.
I mean, it gives you a guide, but I don't think.
Okay, I was just curious.
To. You guys can take it.
I mean, and I said this before too with barbering, if it's what we're doing in the schools, we might as well mirror it so that when we transfer over, but I mean, either way, it's.
Meeting-4. Implement tools, T. Product knowledge and chemistry, 17. Safety, 10. And then safety and sanitation, 20, but it's not on here as 20. And then 20 for career development, 20 rules, and then 50 fundamentals. Where were you, what pages were you on?
Well, 30, your blue box that we were just talking about.
30.
And then
30?
this one, he gave us new.
Big 30 at the top.
Big 30 on the top, sorry, he gave us new paper. It's all draft. We blame draft.
Seriously?
I'm the punching bag.
Why would you not give me what they got?
We're sorry, Sammy.
Unbelievable. I thought he No, he never did. Go on and wait.
Would you like to use this copy?
No, I just need to know what page they're on.
Okay, so this box right here with the blue box with the 150 and the.
Page 15 at the bottom? Yes. I have the same one.
Well, I don't have.
I have the same one, so
Anymore, and
15
then
at the
bottom
bottom
was
is correct.
stolen from me. So I have on his anatomy and physiology, you have 18 hours here and then you only have 10 hours here.
Right, but you guys had asked for, if I'm understanding correctly,
So mine
on, let's walk through from the beginning. Let's do that. So
is
starting in
7.
number 1, we've got the original certificate training program, January 1st. Number 2 is the 484 hours total, 174 theory instruction, 310 supervised practical experience, and 220 procedures in 310 hours. And then the theory breakdown is 18 hours of anatomy and physiology, 4 hours of microbiology, 15 hours of implemented tools and equipment, product knowledge and chemistry, 17 hours, safe use of devices is 10, safety and sanitation infection controls 20, career development, or novel rules are both 20 each, and then theory and foundation fundamentals 50. Okay, and then number 4 is that theory must be taught by a supervisor or through a structured learning program. And number 5, professional holder may not be in practical procedures in life and being, so a supervisor determines original holder at all competencies. Okay, and then number 6, are we talking about number 6? Number 6 the problem?
No, I'm talking about number 7. Down in the 8, oh no, 8, sorry, I lied, 8. So if you roll the page over.
Why did I do that? Yes. I don't know why I did that. Should be 140. When we started changing. That change all back.
So B will be 20.
Yes, and C is 60. Yeah. Okay. Good eye.
This is the correct. This is what it's gonna be now.
Okay.
Every time matches stuff, so it should be good.
So this is
What's your face?
another question, Sammy, this is Tammy, to make this 484, do we want to, because the way we have it on here is different than what it is on here. Do we want to, they add up, the 310 and the 174 add up to 484, but they're not the same breakout, like the 50 hours of foundation and fundamentals isn't on this transcript or this outline at all. So do we want to change that to match?
I think,
So I was trying to make it math add up and it didn't, but then when I got to the 174 and the 310, it did add up to that, but it's not on there.
I'm gonna have to think about that for a minute because technically if you start changing the curriculum, then we have to have a curriculum committee meeting.
Right, so then maybe we take the verbiage out of this and make it,
We tried that, but you guys didn't like that.
not we guys.
Well, some people like you want to, but I'm wondering if we can add it to what's already there.
But I feel like the fundamentals and foundation could be in this 280. I mean, it's, if you're looking at all the
I
things.
think you're probably right.
And I think we changed the verbiage, which then makes this not make sense. So I just feel like we need to make it make sense for transcripting and certification issues.
It's so Corinthian thing.
I know this is a lot.
You know, it's an answer ready to put on paper, right? Okay, let's see. So what you're saying is we,
So if you look at it.
yeah, no, I know what I'm trying.
Can you explain where you're at, what you're doing right now? Because
I'm not doing
at a loss.
because if we change it for studies, we're gonna change from barbering. Barbering was our template. So we gotta go back to barbering and change it before we move on to aesthetics.
Oh.
Because like the theory fundamentals and that, that was part of it. We did that for barbering. And so I just used that same theory. Yeah,
What?
we had cream.
Training outline.
I think bringing in, so the Senate Bill 217 requires any changes made to the curriculum must go through a curriculum advisory committee. And I don't know why that's just on me. So some of the things that we've broken out, like the fundamentals and foundation of fundamentals, it's fine if we do it over the training program, but I would be hesitant to change it on the transcript.
I just got notification that the
I wasn't hear the end of that.
Yeah.
So if this is different, if the training certification is different than a transcript, our school's gonna push back, I know, that they're not the same. So I feel like because we're making this new, this new guidelines, we're not changing curriculum, we're not changing this, we're changing the verbiage of how those numbers are broke out. It still fit into this, but I think we've got the 18, we've got the 4, then you have this 280, because they all have to add up to 484. But this only adds up to 174. So I feel like we either need to just change the verbiage in this and not in the curriculum. Does that make sense?
Are you back on barbering or still aesthetics?
I'm still in aesthetics, but I mean, if we didn't do it in barbering, then we probably need to fix that as well, because it needs to all, I thought we talked about that.
184, 174 plus 310. You have your 310 hours of.
Yeah, but if you're looking at this form right here, this 280 is not addressed.
That form is not cool. It really
You
explains
guys,
nothing.
we all made this when we were.
It makes no sense to me, it tells me nothing. Really.
I know.
When I'm trying to put that into a rule, it's very difficult. Because you've got weird things, silent things, like there's this experience that's required, hours that are actually the experience that you get to do your procedures in, and it's like, what does that really mean? It's difficult to put into a rule. So what the rule says is we have to have 174 and 220. The 310 is kind of silent in the curriculum rule. I don't even address that there's this 310 hours of supervised practical experience, which is the time you take to do your procedures in.
So you're saying they only need 394 hours instead of the 484?
No, they need 484. The 174.
484, yeah, we need the 174 and the 310.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what the rule says. The other rule. A curriculum. I think I'm gonna have to look at this again.
I want to just imagine a new supervisor trying to figure this out. And if, as
They'll
long
they'll have a document that should lay it out for them.
as they can figure it out,
I mean, I guess, if you go back to barbering,
Bless you.
I guess if you go back to barbering, we got it in barbering. What I did the same way. Can we go back to barbering?
yeah, we can do whatever you want.
Go back to barbering, and let's just see if it's not the way that.
So bartering's broke down a lot more.
So on number 2, the training program is 786 hours. 196 hours of theory instruction, 590 hours of supervised experience, and 465 practical procedures. The same A, B, I think, as studies, right? I think they're broken down anymore.
Okay, so it is different because on the official one, it's saying 8 hours, and then I remember there being conversations that, no, we need to have more, so more were added in there, but can you do that? Can you add more that's not in this to make them play together nicely? I don't know.
I'm gonna have to find out if making a change to this document is changing the rule. And the rule for curriculum didn't change. It's just literally this document. So I'll ask, but I think that we're okay.
Well, it's different on this, these papers that you have. Here, it's different. So,
One's barbering and one's.
right. So if these are different, why do they need to be the same for the new one? I'm lost. I'm trying to figure out, because I can't hear you and I'm not following apples to apples. Where are we at? What are we
Tammy
doing?
wants to know if we can change this document.
Okay.
And we made changes in the curriculum
Last
or in the training program
Uh-huh.
that don't match this now.
That's the one for aesthetics or the
If
old
we
one?
go back to barbering,
Okay.
they don't, and well, you guys haven't done aesthetics yet, right? You haven't done aesthetics yet.
We're not to accept,
Right,
okay,
so
that's
for
where I'm
barbering,
confused. Okay.
this document and the rule don't match now. Because you guys had me add fundamentals and foundations, take a little hours here, take some hours there, add this, add that.
But do not the total hours still
Yes.
are the same?
Correct.
Okay, so the total hours are the same.
Yes.
We just move things for more detail in this first document.
Yes.
Okay.
Tammy's question is, can we change this to mirror this so that everybody's cohesive?
Well, I was saying,
Or vice
can we
versa.
legally change the new program to not match this, is kind of
Yes.
the point.
I think.
So if that's, because if a school's taking a training certificate in lieu of an official transcript, do they not have to match? Because if they don't, then the question is gone and we're done, we move on. But if they do need to match for that purpose, so when at the end of the day, the information is all the same, then it's all the same. If it doesn't have to be, then it doesn't.
Imagine total hours. They've just gotten more detail on the second draft,
Yes,
so
and
it's still the
training is
same.
supposed to be more detailed because they need more guidance.
Right, yes.
That's what the law says.
The number of hours of supervised experience completed by a holder of education shall be credited in an equal number toward the total number of educational hours required for issuance of a certificate. you want to know if curriculum can change.
No, I want to know if we can change the numbers in the new program that
So if we can
perfectly
make this
line
not match.
correct. Because if it's okay that they don't match, then it's not an issue, but if it's not okay, then we need to line them up. I mean, it's not feelings and opinions, it's documents that are official. So,
right,
that's why I asked if they need to match, because they don't.
The breakdown of hours.
Correct.
Okay. Well, then I would say we're going no further with the curriculum, but we sit down with our attorney and find out what she says. If they have to match, do they not have to match? I don't think they have to match, but I don't. I mean, the hours are the same. I don't think the breakdown has to match, but I could be wrong, I don't know. Okay. Any questions? I'm going to take this back, and work with management and legal counsel on barbering. And the total number of hours, if we can change, if we can't change them. Yeah, I don't know, I'm gonna have to ask. Because I thought we could change what's in them, but just not, but the total number, as long as it stayed the same, because that's what's in rule. Any questions? So, I shall ask. Okay, I'm gonna read in for public interest parties feedback. At this time, the Cosmetology Qualification Rules Advisory Joint Committee will hear public interest parties feedback. Public comment is limited to matters listed on the meeting agenda. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes and will not be allowed if they're disruptive to the committee. HLO reserves the right to end the person's comment early and have the HLO staff mute the public. This time, please raise the raise hand feature on Zoom or in the back of the room and state your name for the record. Anybody who would like to comment? And share. Please see.
Are we wrapping up today? It won't even let me stop. Because we're not doing hair design or aesthetics or.
What I find out about the number.
Okay, so we're stopping at this point. Okay.
Yeah, not go back to the drawing board, but I gotta ask some more questions. I don't know how to get this off the screen, Josh. Oh, there we go.
There's no public in the
Okay.
call, so.
The Cosmetology Qualification Rules Advisory Committee meeting is adjourned at 1:14 PM.